We human beings, whenever doing something for others, start thinking that what is in it for me or mujhe kya milega. Now there can be some exception, but most of the time that is what we think. And this is also called as selfishness. But the beauty of contract law is there should be consideration for both the parties whenever there is a contract happens. That means you should be selfish when you are coming into contract. That means both of the parties when coming into contract should ensure that they are getting something out of that particular contract, which is known as lawful consideration. Hey guys, this is Ganesh Pujari, and in the series of essentials of valid contract, we have already covered the essentials of valid contract as video 1. Then we covered one of the major essential, that is competency to contract, as video series 2. And then we covered free consent as an essential to contract in the video series of video number 3 and on. And this is the fourth video series, which will be all about lawful consideration. And in this series I am not going to have too many videos, but we are going to learn the context of consideration in detail through this video series. In this first video, I am going to explain you guys the meaning and important definitions and case law as far as lawful consideration is concerned. And the first image is all about images, which will help you to understand the concept of lawful consideration. Why to waste time? Let's get into the illustration. Before even we get into English, that is meaning or the definition or the case law, let us try understand the concept of lawful consideration with the help of this beautiful image. Now there are two people in this illustration, one Mr. A and the other one is Mr. B. A is wearing green shirt whereas B is wearing blue shirt. Now A has an yellow car and he want to sell that car for rupees 5 lakh. Now B want to buy that yellow car for rupees 5 lakh. Now there is meeting of mind and they both are competent to contract. That means they are not minors or they are having soundness of mind. All that is taken care, and there is a free consent for this particular contract. In that case, if A is selling his yellow car to Mr. B for rupees 5 lakh, now what is the lawful consideration that we have to see in this illustration? A is getting rupees 5 lakh, that is the lawful consideration that A is getting, and B is getting yellow car in return, and that is the lawful consideration for B. Now both of them are losing something. What is that? A is losing his car to B and B is losing his money to Mr. A. However, while doing that contract, both of them are getting something, and whatever they are getting something, that is known as lawful consideration. And a contract to be valid, both the parties should get lawful consideration. That is what you need to remember. Now in the case of employment, if an employee is joining a company, he is giving his service to the company and company is giving salary to him. So employee is giving service, that service is the consideration to the company, and company is making the payment in the form of salary, and that salary is the consideration for the employee. That is what you need to remember. With that much of background and illustration, let me get into the slide, which is all about meaning, definition and case law of lawful consideration. Why to waste time? Let's get into some English. Before we start getting the discussion on definition under section 2D of the Act, let us try understand the dictionary meaning of lawful consideration. The dictionary meaning for consideration, when we see under contract law, it says consideration is a benefit which must be bargained for between the parties and is an essential reason for a party entering into a contract. Now it already says in the meaning itself that it is an essential reason for a party entering into a contract. That way it brings importance of the essentiality in the definition itself. And then it also brings a concept of bargaining between the parties. Now consideration can be after the result of bargaining or negotiation. That is one another possibility. Now that is very simple meaning, whereas Sir Frederick Pollock says consideration is the price for which the promise of the other is bought and the promise thus given for value is enforceable. Now he is bringing the concept of promise, and he is also saying that it is bought, promise is bought. By what? By making or giving some consideration, and such consideration is enforceable. That means it has legality with that. That is what he is bringing in. Now in the case law of Curry versus Misa, it was held that a valuable consideration in the sense of the law may consist either of some right, interest, profit or benefit accruing to the one party, or some forbearance, detriment, loss or responsibility given, suffered or undertaken by the other. It basically tries to give both the positivity and negativity of consideration. It may be some right, interest or profit, or it may be some detriment, loss or responsibility which is taken or which has come via contract. That is what you need to remember when it comes to this particular case law. Now, the most important part is the definition under section 2D of the Contract Act, which says when at the desire of the promisor, the promisee or any other person. Now this promisee or any other person is a topic to discuss, which I am going to discuss in my next presentation. Now has done or abstained from doing, or does or abstain from doing, or promises to do or abstain from doing something, such act or abstinence or promise is called a consideration for the promise. Now this is what the definition as per section 2D goes. Now there are three important brackets I have put in. One past consideration, the second one present consideration, and third one future consideration. It is not given in the definition. I have marked it for you guys. Now if the activity is already completed, that means has done or abstained from doing, in that case it is past consideration which is already completed. And the second one is does or abstains from doing, that means it is happening currently, so I am calling it as present consideration. And finally there is something by name promises to do or abstain from doing something, that means the consideration will be given in future, so I am calling it as future consideration. Now when it comes to Indian law, all the three of them are available, that is past consideration, present consideration and future consideration. But when it comes to English law, this concept of past consideration is not available, and I am going to discuss this also in my next presentation. Now this is what you need to remember as far as definition under section 2D is concerned. Now the illustration part I have already explained. With that, I am concluding this particular presentation, but at least in two places I have told that I am going to explain those concepts in my next presentation. That will be the legal rules for lawful consideration, which will be my next video. Till then, thank you so much for subscribing my channel. Please like, share and comment my videos. All the very best for whatsoever purpose you are watching my channel, and thank you so much for watching me.